This episode of Xbox Arsenal is brought to you by, well, you. If you want to learn how to support the Boss Rush family of podcasts, head to bossrush.net or our Patreon at patreon.com/bossrushmedia. Thanks for helping us build something better. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Xbox Arsenal, the Xbox podcast here on Boss Rush Games. I'm one of your hosts, Corey Dirrig, and alongside me, as always, is my Dark Portal remake, Josh Finney.
Dark Portal remake.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
we'll get there.
We're starting off on an interesting note tonight.
Just saying, I forgot what the portals were called in Oblivion. So
the Oblivion gates?
Yeah, those. Yeah, oh the Oblivion gates.
God.
Can I start over?
No.
Nope.
No. We're gonna keep going. We're gonna keep going with it.
Yep. Okay. Keeping it in.
Keeping it in.
How's it going, Josh? Happy Monday.
Oh, I don't know if it's happy, but it's Monday.
Oh, man. So, of course, after we posted the episode, 2 weeks ago, like, so much has happened.
Oh my god. Like, not even just that. It's like, it was kind of like relatively quiet until like last Thursday and Friday, and then it's like, oh, hey, by the way, everybody is gonna drop news bits now. It was kind of nice. They kind of teed it up for us. Man, we got some Square Enix news. We got some Hasbro news.
I know.
We got a bunch of things that we're really excited to talk about. We're gonna talk about one of my favorite games ever made.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about one of my favorite games ever made.
Man,
but it's not the same game. Spoilers.
It is not the same game.
Oh man. So, Josh, are you playing? What are you playing right now? Are you playing anything interesting?
Nah, not really. I mean, I've been playing some Fortnite, trying to get my season pass done. I'm only forcing myself to play right now because Optimus Prime is the level 100 skin.
Yeah.
And I really want Optimus Prime, and I don't want to pay to get Optimus. So, playing some Fortnite, getting there. I'm like 75, 76 in the pass. And I have actually gone back to Halo Infinite. I'm playing it consistently for the first time in probably about a year and a half.
Multiplayer?
Yep.
Yeah. They dropped what they just
having a lot of fun.
They just had that big update, I guess. Right? The season 4's in.
Man, they've had a few big updates. Custom Games Selector is in there now. There's plenty of new maps in the rotation.
Good.
Forge maps are in the rotation now. Of course, Infection is there. I'm still just having a lot of fun playing my typical modes, which are big team battle, like anything in big team, SWAT, and Super Fiesta.
Cool.
Those are all really fun. Been having a lot of fun. Our friend Ray has been playing some Halo with me.
Nice.
So been enjoying that, and beyond that, I'm playing a little bit on my PlayStation backlog. I've only got a couple more weeks that I can like really dig into that. So I'm wanting to do that because come the end of September, it's going to be the trifecta of Starfield, Baldur's Gate 3, and the new Destiny season. So
yeah. Let me tell you a little story about my PlayStation here, Josh. I actually have a couple stories to share with you today. One is regarding
who has worse customer service, Sony or GameStop?
Oh, let me tell you, it's GameStop. Spoilers.
Or Best Buy.
No, it's definitely GameStop. So I sent my unit in to be serviced, and I got an email back that says your unit is unserviceable. So they are sending a refurbished one.
Your PS5?
Yeah. And I've barely played it.
Yeah, Corey, I also had problems with my PS5 when I got it. I suffered from stick drift less than 100 hours after less than 100 hours of playtime on my DualSense.
Well, mine, Josh, wouldn't even turn on. So
they also would not cover the fix or the shipping for my DualSense. I sent it to them and they sent it right back. It was the exact same one. Want to know how I know? It had the exact same issue. So I decided I wasn't going to argue with them anymore. It now lives in a box, and I got a black DualSense controller. My buddy Aaron sent me one last summer. So
Yeah, I've really been itching to play Final Fantasy XVI, but I have to now wait for this
It's okay.
refurbished unit to come in. So
refurbished unit. Speaking of PlayStation 5, did you see how fast the Spider-Man 2 accessories sold out?
Oh yeah, I know. I saw that, and they're not
On like every site imaginable. Like there are like the plates are being scalped for like $150 on eBay.
Yeah, I saw that.
That's just absolutely wild to me. I don't think that controller looks very good.
No, I don't think the unit looks very good either.
I don't think it looks fine, but I think the Final Fantasy 16 plates looked way better.
Yeah,
and they weren't like much to write home about either. I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. At least that's not the LeBron James ones.
Yeah, those are like really hot around here, but I live in Akron.
Well, yeah.
So you know,
with Cavs fans and Lakers fans, nobody else cares.
Yeah,
judging by the fact that they're still in stock. But I think Insomniac came out and said this week, like in response to everything selling out really fast, like, yeah, we're probably not restocking on these, and that's mind blowing to me. Like, I get that you want things to be limited, but guys, that's a perpetual moneymaker right there. If you have Spider-Man stuff available,
yeah,
even for like 6 months, like. You're gonna I would personally want to see that like available through the holiday season if I were making money decisions.
I'm telling you, they're going to restock them right when the game comes out.
Oh, I think they're going to restock on Black Friday. You got 2 restocks. You got like the week of the game coming out, and then a month later on Black Friday.
Yeah.
I think at least the plates. So the only reason I could see them not doing the plates is if the PS5 Slim rumor is true.
Yeah.
Which we should be finding out here in the next couple of weeks if it's true or not.
Yeah.
If that is true, then okay, I get it, because there's a PS5 sale going on in every territory but the US right now. The US is supposed to get it in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Of like $75. It was like $75 off in most territories.
Yeah.
And the speculation is they're trying to liquidate so they can get to the slim SKUs quicker, which I guess makes sense. I mean, they announced this week they crossed the 40 million mark.
Yeah.
In units sold, that's crazy. It's outselling Series X and S like 2-1 right now.
What was I mean, they didn't. Xbox hasn't announced console sales because they never do. But
we saw a slide on an ID at Xbox presentation from Brazil.
Right, and it was like at what, 21 million,
21, 22, something like that. But yeah, you're back to being sold out 2-1, which I mean we've long said this. Regardless, I mean Corey, noted Nintendo defender over here, that console sales do not define the quality of your console.
Right.
I
mean look at the Wii U, amazing games.
Fucking hate the Wii U.
So many amazing games. They all got ported.
We're both ardent Dreamcast defenders, is what I'm getting at.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Long-time Dreamcast fans over here. Yeah. And as we all know, abysmal sales. GameCube is arguably my favorite console ever made. Barely crossed 20 million units worldwide. And that was in the era of the PS2. The PS2 outsold that and the Xbox
combined.
Xbox and Dreamcast combined by like 3-1.
Yeah. It's so crazy.
It's wild. Like the only thing that's ever come close to that is like the DS, I think.
The DS is like 10 million away.
That's it. That's if we're jumping into handhelds. If not, it's like the Switch is going to be the only thing that potentially reaches that number.
Yeah, and judging by the VGC article that came out, the Switch is going to have a long tail after this new console comes out for kids and stuff, right? I mean, I assume there's going to be I guess the Switch Lite, but some sort of like slimmer redesign maybe, or some sort of new handheld only thing or something. I don't know. Something.
Well, so I saw a tweet today, and it was like only Nintendo could follow up one of the most successful consoles ever made and still have us sitting here panicking going, oh god, what are these dipshits going to do to this console this time?
I know.
Because
every tweet I saw was back compats not confirmed.
Yeah. I mean, and that's God. That's like long been my biggest concern for like the last 2 or 3 years. And then after what I just went through with my Animal Crossing Island, trying to get it onto my OLED console, I'm really scared that I'm going to have to go through. I'm going to have to go through this again.
Yeah.
Like I'm not feeling confident about this.
No.
At this point in time, a little scared.
Yep.
Literally all you have to do is make the Switch, but better.
Yeah.
Like we need better graphics. I need I think it was, oh my God, I'm forgetting his name now. Andy Robinson was, from VGC, was following up in some tweets and said that he basically thinks that an LCD screen is all but confirmed. I wonder, Because here's the thing: when the Switch came out, it was like it had no competition. It was the only handheld on the market. Nintendo had effectively killed the 3DS before this, and now you have things like the Steam Deck, the ROG Ally, Lenovo. Today it came out. Jez Corden reported on this a couple hours before we went live that Lenovo is making their foray into handheld PC gaming. So there is competition in a handheld market, and I don't want to be like, oh my god, the Steam Deck and the Switch are direct competitors, but like they kind of are in a way. The Switch is, it's always been that unique thing of it's a home console and a handheld console, and so many things are shifting that way. With the emphasis Microsoft is now, we're going to talk about PC Game Pass here in a little bit. Like the emphasis they're putting on PC Game Pass and like making native Windows gaming devices almost makes me wonder if like in 3 to 4 years are we going to see like a portable Xbox handheld, or are they going to like definitively sit down and partner with Asus or somebody like that?
I would guess that they would partner with someone.
That would be my guess too.
I wonder if there will be an Xbox branded ROG Ally at some point, or whatever Lenovo's making or something, right?
Like, yeah, I would probably think that it would be with ROG because that's an Asus machine. I think they would want to partner with Asus. They won't partner with anyone but like like Alienware is going to get into this eventually, and a few companies like that.
I'm actually shocked Alienware hasn't gotten into it yet. Although,
well, I mean, they haven't figured out a way to make it overpriced yet. So
underpowered, overpriced.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm waiting to see what the second generation of these handhelds look like, though, because like Steam Deck obviously has been a runaway success, and part of that's because it was like the one thing. But I like that we've shifted the conversation now. Like, remember Steam machines when that was a thing?
Oh yeah,
and it never really took off. That was the first time I was like, oh man, I might get into PC gaming. This is really easy. Yeah. And then it was like, oh wait, these things suck.
Here's the other thing too, Josh, is that with all these new regulations that the EU is putting out, like where like especially for like phones that have to have USB-C and that has to be a standard. Now they said all portable devices have to have some sort of easily removable battery.
I love the EU. I love the EU. They're doing what America refuses to do right now with electronic devices.
I'm like, okay, so they're not going to make two separate devices for two different regions, right? Or like multiple regions.
You literally
I was like, man, I really want a ROG Ally. I'm interested in the Steam Deck if I can get Windows to run on it so I can play Game Pass games natively and not through the cloud. Like there's, the workarounds for that.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, maybe I should wait on some sort of second iteration on these because they're going to be...
Yeah, my problem with it is the laws for the removable battery don't have to go into effect until 2027. And it's like, well, I don't want to wait like 3 or 4 years to get one of these. Like if I make it to this point next year without a ROG, I'll be shocked. I'll be absolutely shocked. Like the biggest thing that these handhelds are going to have to do is they're going to have to solve the battery life problem. And honestly, Nintendo is going to have to solve we're several generations behind. Brian Altano was tweeting about this earlier, where he was like, it's cool. They're going to do the Switch 2. It's going to sell a whole bunch of units. But he's like, the Wii U effectively destroyed any notion we had of like Nintendo even attempting to keep up with Sony and Microsoft. Or with like modern gaming standards, like with the 4K 120 frames thing. Like it's been reported that this thing is going to be probably about as powerful as like the PS4 Pro or the One X, like on the high end. And that's still not bad. I want to be really clear on that. Like that's not bad. We are starting to like plateau a little bit in terms of like what these machines can like make things look like.
Give me Zelda that looks like Horizon.
Oh my god! Like. And here's the thing, like I know that like on a lot, and this is an Xbox show. We're gonna get to Xbox in just a second, but like we have a lot of mutual friends who are diehard Nintendo fans, and like that's most of what they play is on the Switch. Who are like, oh well, I don't care. I don't need the fanciest graphics and this and that. And you look at like most of what they play, and like, oh yeah, well you're playing first party games. Like your first party teams are always going to be the wizards that are going to be the best with the hardware because they're around. That's all they develop for. Like. It makes sense that Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are just like two of the best looking games of the last decade. Like you have those teams working on it. Like Metroid Prime 4 is going to look amazing. Look, Pikmin 4 looks great.
Yeah.
Super Mario Brothers Wonder looks awesome.
Oh my gosh, Wonder looks amazing.
Wonder looks great. And it's like But like you show that to like somebody who primarily plays on like an Xbox or a PS5, who's like so deeply rooted in those ecosystems. They're like, oh, why do you think this looks good? Like it looks good for what it's aiming for. Like it's the same reason why we praise games like Tunic and we praise things like Inside, for their graphical approaches. Like as long as you're nailing your creative vision, who cares? So
yeah.
But we.
I hold on. I got to tell my GameStop story before we get started.
I cannot believe I completely deviated away from the GameStop story. I'm so sorry.
This is worse than the other story. Okay. And I had to wait to tell the story because I was so paranoid that like they would take my refund away from me. So I bought my Xbox gift cards and spent them. So there's no money for you to take away from me, GameStop. Okay. Nothing. So June 18th, I order the Starfield controller and a charger and the Velocity Green controller, Josh. Okay. From GameStop because I traded in some physical Switch games that I just didn't need to have. Right. So I'm like, okay, I really want the Starfield controller. It looks cool. I have enough money here. I'm going to order it. So I went on their website because they didn't have it in store. Shocking. And so I enter in my information. I log into my Pro account and I enter in my address where I currently live. I enter in my address. Okay. I hit purchase. Okay. Like an hour later, I'm like scrolling on my phone. I open my email because I'm like, checking stuff for whatever. I look at the GameStop email. They send it to the address I haven't lived at in 4 years. And I checked like my account and I'm like, this address doesn't exist on my account. And I typed in my current address. So I call them and they say, oh, it's still processing. I said, I know, but can you unprocess it? Because, I don't live in that address. And somehow you got that address from somewhere.
Yeah.
Long story short, Josh. 43 days later. 43. 17 phone calls. 3 people hanging up on me. Them telling me 1 to 3, 3 to 5, 5 to 7, or 7 to 10 business days, multiple different times. Telling me it was going to go back on the original gift card that I paid for and then shipped the refund gift card to my old address again. I finally got a refund and a digital gift card. 43 days for a refund. That they they totally messed up.
I have only ever had like one true GameStop horror story in my life. And that was back during the Amiibo craze when it was at its height. I want to say it was the Wave 4 fiasco.
Oh no.
When they had the NES exclusive in store only. And so I went to GameStop and I was there early because I knew what time they were going to go live and everything else. I was there. I was waiting in the store for like 2 hours, right? Keep in mind, I am like 4 or 5 months removed from a major ankle surgery. So I'm like having problems standing and this and that. And the manager who worked at this GameStop was really cool. She knew me and my buddy personally and was like, okay, she was like, hey, I'm taking off for the day. My assistant manager is here. She's like, here's a chair, blah, blah, blah. So I sit down and I'm waiting and there's a line forming in the store and all the systems crash as soon as you can start ordering. And we're hearing from friends like over the phone, like, oh yeah, my GameStop was able to get them through like only like they can only get them through like one order at a time and this and that. And we're wondering why our store isn't even attempting it. And one of the workers who's there is like telling the assistant manager, like, hey man, we need to be checking them out first. The assistant manager was trying to push his own order through first. And like, of course, a couple people overheard it and like, I wasn't going to say anything. I was just like, I think that's like kind of shitty, but I'm like, my early 20s. I don't really want to make like a scene at the store that I frequent. And so I left it to the grown ass man children behind me to say something. And his response to us was, I'm in charge, I can do whatever the fuck I want.
Okay.
Well, that got captured on camera. So eventually, after like 45 minutes of this, he gives up and starts checking us out. Very upset, by the way. And so I ordered the ones that I could get through, because I didn't want the whole wave, thank God. I wanted Ness, I wanted Lucina, and I wanted, I forget who else was a part. I wanted like one other that was a part of the wave. And I think Sonic the Hedgehog may have been a part of it. And so I get that. And then there was all this fiasco with like the pre-orders, like people's orders weren't showing up on the online history and this and that. Mine was one of those, was that. So I called it up. But I also had been told, like, very discreetly by the other worker, like, hey, please call the corporate office and complain. So I did. That was back in the day when GameStop, apparently back in 2015, took customer complaints very seriously. And they were like, yeah, you can't do that. So they took down exactly took down what I said. And the supervisor who was talking to me, because I got escalated when I said I had a customer complaint, was like, okay, I need to know the name of the person who's there. So like, they're like full on making me snitch, man. It's like a fucking episode of Narcos in here. And I'm not liking where this is going. And they're like, okay, so was there anything else that you wanted that you weren't able to get? And at this point, I had now figured out that Robin from Fire Emblem was one of those that like they were only going to have like one or two of in each store, if that.
Yeah.
When it came out, and I was like, so I'm not proud of this, but I was like, well, I didn't get the Robin Fire Emblem amiibo. Because I was told that it was out. They're like, oh, nope, we can add that to your order right now. We're going to add it to your order free of charge with free shipping.
What?
Yep. That and like half of my amiibo order got comped because I was a rat.
Wow.
So I have inexplicably defended GameStop for years because I have not been wronged since. It's all because I snitched. That person, I never saw that man again. He'd been. I felt bad because he'd been at that store for years. I never saw that guy ever again, ever. I saw him somewhere else once, and just like tried not to make eye contact. But yeah, so I said that is my wacky GameStop story.
Man, when I said I had a customer complaint the 12th time I called GameStop, the guy told me I was wasting my time. I said calling 12 times to see where my refund is in 30-something days is a waste of time. I said, can I speak to a supervisor? He said, he's in a meeting for another couple hours. I said, at 8 o'clock at night. He said, yeah, good day. And he hung up on me.
So that's the beauty of living 20 minutes from GameStop's world headquarters.
Yeah, that's fair.
That they didn't just send a district manager out. They sent like one of the managers of like the entire like company out.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh no. It was only like later on, like a month or two later, I found out what had happened, and I was like, oops. Oops. I didn't mean for, and I told them on the phone, I was like, I don't want anybody to get fired, but I was like, this guy was kind of an asshole to people. His buddy who told him to stop had been promoted.
Oh.
Corey, we have a lot of Xbox news to talk
We do. Enough complaining about
GameStop and their horrible customer service.
Dude, I'm never shopping there again. Seriously. Even if they have like the most limited thing that of the things that I've ever wanted.
I try really hard not to. I think the last thing I like actually had to force myself to go there for was the collector's edition of Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
And I cringed when I had to make that order, but it was the only store that had it. I try real hard not to go there.
Yeah. Well, Josh, you know what we're not complaining about? Phil Spencer showing up on stage at Final Fantasy Fan Fest to announce that Final Fantasy XIV is coming to Xbox in the spring of 2024. By Phil Spencer.
Oh my god. This was not on my bingo card. All of a sudden I'm checking my timeline on Friday, and all of a sudden I see a tweet about it, and I was like, okay, because I don't remember who it was. It was like, I think it might have been like Jez or somebody, and I was like, okay, quit pulling my leg. And it was like, oh shit, this is real. There's video of it. There's fucking pictures of it. I thought people were just joking around, and nope, lo and behold, Final Fantasy XIV is coming to Series X next spring.
I'm really excited for this.
I'm excited for this because there's so much free content that you can play.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really excited for that. I think all of Realm Reborn and one of the expansions are free.
Well, let's see if it's free.
I want to say everything through Endwalker might be free, but I don't know. One of our mutual friends has played quite a bit of Final Fantasy XIV in between Destiny seasons, and was very excited that I'm going to finally jump in. He's been trying to get me to jump in since I got a PS5. So I'm excited to play this. This is one of those games like I've been interested in, but I don't have a PC, so I don't want to I can't sit down and play that. And it's like I prefer not to play games like this on my PS5 just because my controllers seem to die really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I would rather sit down and play this on my Xbox. So very excited. I played a little bit of Final Fantasy XI back in the day on 360.
Mm-hmm.
But what intrigued me more was Phil basically saying, this is the beginning of a new partnership, and then the Square Enix CEO saying, whenever possible, we are going to be bringing our games to Xbox from now on.
Yeah.
Which Ryan McCaffrey had a great quip about. He was like, "Oh, so the games that Sony hasn't paid for."
Yeah.
And that's pretty funny. But I wanted to read a comment about it. Corey, if you got any thoughts, go for it. I got to find this exact quote.
Well, I have two things. Well, one, how much content is free in Final Fantasy XIV right now? The entire base game and the first expansion are available for free, with some restrictions. The free trial players are capped at level 60 versus level 90 in Endwalker. Can only create one character per world, and have restrictions on in-game trading and commerce. So,
the comment that I wanted to follow up on was Rebecca Valentine, who, by the way, you don't remember her, has done phenomenal reporting on the Xbox FTC case.
Mm-hmm.
She said her reading on these comments from Phil and from the Square Enix CEO was that Phil Spencer's had and this is in quotes, some meetings, which I would imply as going in there and throwing the gauntlet down, essentially. And is going very hard on the Final Fantasy XVI problem never happening again. That's the most common read that I've seen on this from just about anyone who covers the industry, is that Phil's pretty determined that they're not going to have Final Fantasy XVI or the 7 remake problem happen ever again. And I think that when you see how popular the Yakuza franchise and the Persona franchise has been on Xbox and its limited availability, it's kind of a no-brainer.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I get the whole philosophy behind why 7 and 16 were exclusive. We talked about it before. 7, of course, legendary PlayStation game.
Mm-hmm.
Legendary PlayStation game gets teased every time they come with a new console. It's oh, look, Final Fantasy 7 might get remade.
Yeah.
16 was made in conjunction with Sony. From what I understand, Sony really helped get that game made in the time frame that it was. So I understand both of those, but when things are quote unquote labeled timed exclusives and we're 3.5 years later and it's still not on your competing platform,
right,
that's a problem. To not even get these games to PC,
right,
is a problem. And I mean, Remake is on PC now. Yeah, it is now.
Yeah,
but 16 not being on PC is just kind of inexcusable. Your deal was that big that you prevented it from going to PC.
What's the exclusivity window on that?
We don't know. The exclusivity window on Remake was supposed to be 1 year, and
I knew that.
We know it got extended,
mm-hmm.
and we were like, "Oh, that's because of Integrate."
Mm-hmm.
And now we just have no idea why. Now it's kind of theorized. Well, maybe Microsoft has struck a deal that when Rebirth comes out, they'll release 7 Remake just for Series X or something. And I've seen a lot of people get really hopeful after this comment about oh, well, Xbox has already been announced to be at TGS. And that's usually where they just announce a whole lot of ports and localization and stuff. I don't want anybody to get their hopes up that 7 Remake is going to get talked about there. I imagine that the date for the beta for Final Fantasy XIV may get talked about there. And probably the Pixel remasters will get announced.
Yeah.
That was what really started this whole thing of Square Enix doesn't like to support Xbox anymore, was when those 6 games did not come.
Right.
But they went to PlayStation. That had a very weird thing too. It was like PlayStation, and then PC got it a few months later, and then the Switch got it like a year later.
No, I thought it came out the same time as Switch.
I don't think it did. I remember it being really weird. Anyways, maybe I'm misremembering everything, but I remember that whole situation being very weird. Like, there was at least one platform that was just like left hanging.
Yeah.
Which is strange because everything from 7 onwards is available on Xbox.
Yeah, I mean, even Crisis Core was released on Xbox.
Well, and that was the weird thing. It was like, so you're going to release the spin-offs, but not the main game. Like, I would have thought that maybe Sony would fight for the exclusivity because Crisis Core is a PSP game.
Yeah. And like the things that they did to that game, like, really puts it in line more with 7 Remake than the PSP game. So
I have to wonder if they're going to try and do this if Dirge of Cerberus comes around.
Oh, God. Nobody wants that.
I want that very badly. I have an extremely soft spot for Dirge of Cerberus. Funny enough, Dirge of Cerberus was my very first Final Fantasy game.
Oh, man.
Actually, no, it wasn't. Crystal Chronicles was. Crystal Chronicles was my first Final Fantasy game. Dirge of Cerberus was my first, non-Final Fantasy VII Final Fantasy game. So I had seen Advent Children, and then I played Dirge of Cerberus, and was like, "Oh my god!" I was like 13. Vincent Valentine's the coolest guy ever. So yeah, I'm curious to see what this entails. I suspect this probably will be followed with a bunch of Square games coming to Game Pass at some point. Like, we've already had all the old Final Fantasies on there, and Dragon. I remember a couple of years ago,
11
during the first summer Series X show in 2020, it was a big deal when Dragon Quest got announced.
Yeah, it came to Game Pass too.
Came to Game Pass right away. Yeah, that was one of the very first Series X optimized games.
Yeah.
So,
and it was the special edition too, the one with like all the extra content.
Yeah, and I mean, Dragon Quest is one of those like weird franchises that, like, I mean, they'll release a mainline game. I think it was a Dragon Quest like 9 or 10 only came to the DS. So, like, Dragon Quest is one of those notoriously weird franchises. Like, releases a game maybe every 6 or 7 years.
Yeah,
and it's just like, oh, that's coming to Xbox. This is kind of a big deal because that was right around the time that we were getting all the Yakuza games released. So I think you look at things like that and you go, okay, so what are they going to do here? Like, you have to think that probably part of what Phil's trying to do is, yes, prevent like Final Fantasy XVII from being an exclusive, but also, like, I think that he's looking much more like closer term and probably trying to be like, you're not going to take Kingdom Hearts exclusive. And Kingdom Hearts 4 is the bigger concern for him here, because look how long they had to wait to get 1 and 2 on there, even after the release of 3.
Well, yeah. Plus, like, PlayStation got physical releases, and Xbox didn't get physical releases except for 3.
Yep.
So, and I knew that was a big deal for a lot of people.
Yeah, and I mean, in an era where physical media is disappearing rapidly, I mean, we've got 2 major releases this year, Like a Dragon Gaiden and Alan Wake 2.
Well, did you see a little bit of a side tangent on that? Did you see that Disney's going to stop releasing physical DVDs and Blu-rays in Australia and some certain parts of the world?
I did see that. I want to see it sourced from a real source, though. All I saw was the Film Updates tweet.
Yeah.
And I don't trust that account. Either way, if that does happen, because they've tried to do this for a couple of times now, that's like a really, really, really bad move. Obviously for preservation purposes, but also just like a lot of people really like physical media. You get a better transfer, you get a better picture, better audio, everything than you do from streaming. So, I personally still like physical media. It's funny, I've gone mostly digital on my movies, but I still buy. I watch the digital ones, but I have them physically on my shelf. Yeah,
I mean, there's definitely, I've kind of moved to the mostly digital path, but like I do buy physical stuff of the things that I love. Like when Indiana Jones comes out, if there's like a nice 4K box set, I will purchase the box set. And if there's not a box set, I'll just buy the 4K Blu-ray, right? So, but 100%. Like, you know, most of this stuff, I'm like, you know, I don't need a physical copy of something like, I don't know, some random game that like Gotham Knights, right? I don't need a physical game of that. The gunk.
I tend to buy a lot of physical games really cheap on like Black Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Or like Amazon's Prime sales that happen. I tend to buy physical games those 2 times of the year.
Yeah.
But most of the time, like you said, it's a collector's edition or it's something I really, really want.
Yeah.
Like Starfield is going to be on Game Pass, but I'm probably still going to buy it'll be down the line, but I'll get a physical copy for my shelf.
Right.
There hasn't been a Bethesda game I haven't bought the physical copy of since before Morrowind. So even 76, I have physically on my shelf.
Yeah.
Begrudgingly. I got it for $3, but it's on my shelf. I guess my last question would be like, in regards to 14, do we think that there's gonna be like any like special perks, like we're celebrating coming to Xbox? Also, like Xbox players are gonna be in for like a really big dose of reality who have never tried a paid MMO before, who like only have experience with ESO Tamriel Unlimited,
right?
Because you have to pay for game time.
I
and
wonder,
like that and World of Warcraft are 2 of the only games that I know of that you still have to pay for game time.
I wonder if so I'm thinking of Game Pass perks, right? Like they do with Phantasy Star Online, right? I wonder if a Game Pass perk will be either some sort of cosmetic that you can have, some sort of armor piece, or if you're an Ultimate subscriber, you get a 30-day paid subscription or 60-day paid subscription or
I
something.
can see them give them like 14 days.
Yeah, something.
I think it'll be something simple like 14 days, 14-day trial, and like maybe a free mount or something. I could see that happening. Like I don't know, as dumb as it sounds, like a green chocobo or something.
Yeah, or Warthog.
I could see something
just
like really. Dude, give me a fucking Master Chief armor set.
Yeah, why not?
Dude, I'll pay for it. I don't care.
Or like the Dragonborn armor from Skyrim, or something that would like actually fit in the universe, maybe.
Yeah, there's a lot of really cool things you could do here, and I really do hope this is the beginning of like getting back to, because that was a relationship that I had for a while. I wouldn't say it was like super strong, but I think everybody forgets Final Fantasy 13 was revealed on their stage. There was a special 360 console for Final Fantasy 13.
Yeah, and there was the faceplate too. If you didn't want to buy the console, you could buy the faceplate.
Yeah, you had that. I remember what a big deal it was when Kingdom Hearts 3 got announced as coming to Xbox. Right off the bat, they were like, "Oh yeah, we revealed it, and it's coming to Xbox." That was a very big deal. So they've done it. It's just like in recent years with the timed exclusivity agreements of things like Forspoken and obviously 16 and 7 Remake and stuff. It's felt like, oh, Square doesn't want anything to do with Xbox anymore. You're getting Brinks trucks of money backed up to you. Like, I'd probably do the same thing. And I think Phil is... I've seen people, like, as much as I love Ryan, I've seen Ryan say this in the past. Why does Phil not go out and make these deals? And I really, truly think he's gun shy over the last time he did a deal like this with Square Enix. With Rise of the Tomb Raider. Like, you look at how much they got dragged through the mud for that one. And I've always been the person who was like, I don't think that they should have made that deal. I understand why they did. I personally don't think it's right to pay to keep one game in a long running franchise off of rival platforms, especially when it's associated with that rival platform. And I also understand Team Xbox's decision there to go for it. They wanted something that could rival Uncharted. And the result was they got the best Tomb Raider game, in my opinion, of any of them.
They did, but they also put it out on the same day as Fallout 4, which was highly anticipated at the time. So
they put it out the same day as Fallout 4. They put it on the 360, which was a really dumb decision.
Yeah.
There were just some horrible decisions made there, and you got to wonder if that's played into Phil's desire to not go and grab these third-party exclusives and rather just like contract these studios to make exclusive games for them that are brand new IPs, or to rescue IPs that are kind of being thrown. Like As Dusk Falls was originally supposed to be published by Sega, I believe. And Interior Night's contract got canceled. Microsoft came in, picked up the game, revealed it a couple months later. Things like that make sense to me. It's never made sense to me. Like, why would you want to go and buy the exclusivity on games that already exist? Like something like Forspoken. Yeah, it sucks, but it is what it is. That's a new IP.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 16 is a different story. But the fact that 14 is coming after like just 6 months ago, there was, Square basically acknowledging, yeah, it's probably never going to happen at this point. Like, there'd have to be a lot of demand. from what I understand, Phil personally has fought for this game to come to Xbox. So
yeah. Plus, Square. I don't remember if we touched on it already or if we mentioned it somewhere else, but Square Enix also got a new CEO recently, like in May or June or something.
Yes.
And I wonder if that has anything to do with it too. Maybe Phil's building a new relationship with this new CEO or this new leadership team, and maybe they see the Xbox as a viable platform to make money on.
I mean, he's basically said that they're like the one Japanese company that he like cannot seem to get a good relationship going with.
Yeah.
So I mean, hey, once upon a time, we didn't think there would ever be Atlas games on Xbox again.
Yeah, that's 100% true.
Like I think we all forget that there was an exclusive Shin Megami Tensei game on the original Xbox, and then Atlas just disappeared from the platform entirely.
Yeah.
Like even to the point where you never got Persona games, but you got the Persona spin-off. You got Persona 4 Arena, but you didn't get Persona 4.
We got the dancing games.
We did not get the dancing games.
Did we not get the dancing
games?
We
have not got the dancing games have never left PlayStation.
No, that doesn't seem.
They've never left PlayStation. Persona 5 Strikers was really hoping that would come to Xbox. That is only on the Switch, and that is on the Switch, PC, and PlayStation. Because that's really bizarre, since that's a direct sequel to Persona 5.
Okay. I swear the dancing games came to 360.
They're not. I promise you.
Okay, I believe you.
I've looked.
Not that I'm like, went out and tried to find them and couldn't find them, but
No, they've never come to the Switch either. It's just really bizarre. Like, there's a lot of really weird business practices, and I really credit the success of the Yakuza franchise on Game Pass as getting a lot of these other Japanese studios on board to be like, well, hey, if nothing else, let's take the payday they're going to give us to put these on Game Pass. That more than pays for the port, and that can help fund other games that we want to make. Because we know that they pay based on the expected sales of a game, and if Microsoft doesn't expect them to sell, then fine. But we've also seen they're willing to pay, hand and foot to get good games on there. So I don't know. I'm a fan of this. I'm hopeful for what this means for the future.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think if we get Final Fantasy VII Remake or 16 at some point, like that'll solidify this kind of, rah, we have a relationship with this company.
I need to see what the first couple of games in like this agreement are going to be. Because it can't just be, oh yeah, we're going to bring shit to you, but like 2 years later. That's not going to fly.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to need some day and date releases. And I don't mean for shit like Foam Stars.
Yeah.
Like, we want the good games. We want the good games day one. You can keep Babylon's Fall can stay on PlayStation. I'm convinced that that's what half of these agreements were for, is just to get somebody to pay them some money up front for things like Babylon's Fall and Foam Stars.
Yeah, and Forspoken too. Don't forget that.
I mean, Forspoken started out decently, though. The first incarnation of that game had Gary Whitta and Amy Hennig on it.
I know.
And they both left, and everybody forgot about it.
Yeah, that's sad, because that game looked really cool.
It looked really cool, and then every single preview just looked atrocious.
Man, every time I see like a trailer for that game, or like, I think the character looks cool. I think like the whole kind of Kid in King Arthur's Court type feel looks cool, like seems cool. Like that's such an awesome premise for a game, and they just kind of, from what I've heard, is like they just kind of squandered it. So
yeah, it's like our friend Ray said it's like the most like 6 out of 10 game he's ever played.
Yeah, and then I played the demo, man, and the movement just did not feel great. It was rough.
Well, Corey, while we're talking about Japanese companies, Kojima Productions just today tweeted out a picture of Hideo Kojima with the Xbox marketing team.
And he did. That was pretty cool. I mean, we know that Kojima's working on that kind of Xbox exclusive project, right? Using I think cloud tech at first, most of it or some of it, or to do things that haven't been done in games before, the Kojima speak, right? And so that was cool. That was really cool to see. It also, like, and I know that like PlayStation published Death Stranding on PlayStation, but 505 technically owns the publishing rights elsewhere. And I wonder if that like marketing deal or that publishing deal is coming to a close. And I wonder if like whatever this picture was showing or not showing, I wonder if that's going to be at Tokyo Game Show, because we do know Microsoft's going to be there. And this was announced.
Yeah, it's kind of wild
because
I mean, Death Stranding is on PC Game Pass.
I know. I actually think it's leaving in like a month or something.
It might be. It's been a year, so that's pretty standard.
Yeah.
Xbox was at TGS last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they already said they're going this year too. So
yeah, they'll be there this year. They're probably gonna have a TGS stream like mid-September.
Yeah.
Curious again, like it's usually older ports that get announced there, or ports of existing games.
Yeah.
Curious to see if we get any exclusive projects announced. I mean, especially with Tango branching out of doing just horror games now with Hi-Fi Rush.
Yeah, I wonder if they'll even do horror games moving forward because of what's his face leaving. Yeah.
I think they will, because I mean, like, as we'll hit on this a little bit later. As I saw with Arcane, like when you hire people to work on specific types of games, you want to keep making those types of games. And I think it's cool that you had people within the studio that wanted to make things like Hi-Fi Rush. The other rumor that we've heard out of that studio is that supposedly they are working on a JRPG. I forget where that rumor came from, but that was being sourced around before the summer showcase. That supposedly that may be the next project, even before Evil Within 3. Which would be kind of cool. That studio is just doing great work right now. So one of the unexpected hits of the year. I really hope we see something from Kojima soon. Even though this deal just got announced last year, Jeff Grubb was reporting on it like a year before. But this was supposed to be working on stuff from the cloud. They got one of the head engineers from Valve on their team at Microsoft working on this as well, working on cloud partnerships. So very curious to see what comes of this. From what we heard in the past, I believe this was supposed to be an episodic game. And I don't know if this was Sony supposedly passed on one of his games in the past. And at one point it was rumored he was making an exclusive game for Stadia. Yeah. And I've long wondered if this is the Stadia game.
Yeah, but I thought their partnership was still... I thought this partnership was announced kind of like while Stadia was still a thing, sort of.
Nope. This was announced last summer. This was the one more thing at the 2022 showcase.
Man, I feel like this was announced so long.
Because we went from Persona into that.
Oh, that's right. You're right.
And then into Starfield.
You're right.
So
you're right.
It's just Grubb talked about it for so long that I think that we think it's been around longer than it has been. And I mean, just because you take forever to announce something doesn't mean you haven't been working on it, right?
Right.
Because they signed the document of intent or whatever it was in like 2021.
Yeah.
Like spring 21.
Right.
They took forever to announce the deal, but that was one of those we looked at that like, damn, that's a huge deal. Like, especially because anything he makes is a new IP at this point.
Yeah.
It's not like he's taking Metal Gear exclusively to Xbox or something.
Right.
I don't know, just like cool times ahead. I mean, maybe we get a teaser. I would expect him to do at least a video or something. But like you said, Death Stranding could come to Xbox. Maybe that publishing deal has run out.
Yeah, I wonder. I mean, I think a lot of PlayStation and PC people have gotten.
I feel like Death Stranding 2 is going to be a PlayStation exclusive.
Yeah, I mean it is, and I think if you want buzz around that, there's one more marketing beat you could do, and that's releasing it on a platform that it's not on yet, right? So
I mean, even if you're just throwing it up and being like, "Oh, hey, Game Pass,"
yeah, which would be fine. Good, more games on Game Pass. I'll take it.
Speaking of re-releases, though, Corey.
Yeah, Josh. Guess what, Josh? Xbox. First of all, Xbox is we've been talking a lot about backwards compatibility, right? And seemingly, obviously, Call of Duty has been very popular the last couple of weeks. Black Ops 2 in particular, and Modern Warfare 2.
Series X consoles were backordered.
Yeah, they were sold out on Amazon.
Sold out.
Yeah, yep. Which is insane. And also, like, Gears of War was getting matchmaking improvements across the board for the original trilogy, and it was really impressive. That original Gears trilogy is like one of my favorite trilogies of all time. Shout out Epic Games back then. But the other thing that's come out kind of like around this subject, Josh, is that Hasbro wants Xbox to kind of revive the old Transformers games. And you and I were talking, like, War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron are like some of the best games, probably like a top 15 or 20 game for me of all time is Fall of Cybertron. Those games are incredible.
Yeah.
And they did re-release them on Xbox One for a little bit, and then Activision may or may not have lost the license. And but we were talking about the possibilities of this, like not just Transformers, but like, you know, all those old Activision games, like Marvel Ultimate Alliance, some of the older Spider-Man games, some of the, you know, other licensed things from companies. Like, this would be incredible if Xbox could revive some of these games for Game Pass specifically.
Yeah, I want to read the exact quote from Hasbro. They were asked if it was possible to re-release the Activision Transformers games to coincide and with some of the other things coming out. They said, sadly, it appears Activision's not sure what hard drives they're on in the building. When a company eats a company, needs a company, things get lost, and that's frustrating. The hope is now that the deal is moving forward with Microsoft and Xbox, that they'll go through all the archives and every hard drive to find it, because it's an easy Game Pass ad. We want those games back up for people to have a chance to play. You and I were also talking, like, if you go, just getting those on is a win, right? Because we know how hard it is to get licensed games back in today's day and age.
Mm-hmm.
I think that one of the big things would be, well, if you're going to do this, what about all the old Marvel and Spider-Man games?
Yeah.
And, you know, because you have Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2, you have like
X-Men Legends.
I mean, you have, well, and so that's another thing entirely. Like, you're going all the way back to the OG Xbox. Like, they've previously said they're done with OG Xbox, but I have to think with them acquiring Activision, they'd be willing to like crack that open for one more run.
Yeah, I mean, I think they might try something, right? Even if they don't, like, quote unquote, optimize them, right? If they just get them working, right, you know.
Because I mean, you can then tout that, hey, this isn't something like it's an easy marketing beat for Xbox, right? Like, hey, you know, we'd be willing to bring these to PlayStation, but you know, your console just isn't backwards compatible. And that's one of the advantages that they keep building on the same architecture, right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, you go all the way back to the OG Xbox, like you said, and like X-Men Legends is on there, Ultimate Spider-Man, Hulk Ultimate Destruction. Because you got to remember, they own all the Sierra games, and they were doing a lot of the licensed stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
What was it? Wrath of Cortex for Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah, that one.
Twin Sanity.
There's Spyro games on there, right?
So. Yeah, there's Spyro games on there. So there's a lot of things you can go all the way back to the original Xbox or even to the 360 to get that were licensed. Mm-hmm. And I think that opens up a lot of avenues to explore if you can do that. I just don't know, like, what kind of negotiation would it take with Disney and Marvel to get you to be able to relist those? That would be the biggest question, I think, is how do you get those realistic? With those, at least, it's not like Tony Hawk, where like, oh, you've got likenesses and you've got music and brands and everything else you got to negotiate it with. Mm-hmm. These are definitely different. So I'm curious to see what it would take to get that done. I can't imagine it would be too hard to get the non-movie tie-ins. The movie tie-ins would be your rough one. So like, I would say don't expect like the classic Spider-Man 2 and 3 games.
Right.
Well, 3 is not a classic, but Spider-Man 2 and 3 I would not expect to see. Mm-mm. But something like Ultimate Spider-Man, you could probably do.
Yeah.
So curious to see like what would need to happen there. Any residuals that would have to be paid out. I'd like to look into more of what it takes, because I know every game is an individual case.
Yeah.
But they had previously said they had exhausted everything, but I believe Activision had said in the past they were pretty opposed to putting games on backwards compatibility outside of like Call of Duty, because that was money. But you gotta think like those Marvel ones would just instantly be, you know, an influx of cash. Maybe not a significant amount, but there's enough people that have nostalgic feelings for those games that would want them.
Yeah, and I mean those games are incredible too, especially the Cybertron games, and even the one based on the third movie was okay.
Yeah, because we think of the two good ones. They made like 5 or 6 Transformers games.
Yeah, I mean
between Activision and Sierra.
Yeah, the last one they made that was kind of a fusion of the Cybertron and the movie universes that one wasn't great, but it was still like it was okay. But the two Cybertron games specifically are incredible. So
yeah, and I think there's a lot of possibilities there for licensing, for games that you could bring over. So curious to see what happens there, especially with the interest that the old Call of Duty games are bringing, even pre-Game Pass.
right.
Like, this is just the people who are willing to buy those games right now. Think of how many player counts you're going to see go up when those games are all hitting Game Pass.
Those games are all still on sale too. They're all $9.99 and $14.99 right now. So
they put them on sale all the time.
Yeah.
They're pretty regular. They're on sale for the Ultimate Sale for like, by the time you're listening to this, the Ultimate Sale is going to be over. But
because it ends in
they go on sale every couple of months, because I've toyed with buying. I love Call of Duty 2. I've toyed with buying that one in the past. My disc has since been lost to the bowels of time. I had it somewhere at one point, and maybe it's in my storage unit somewhere. But that I still have that Modern Warfare 2, and I think the first Black Ops floating around somewhere, maybe World at War. I'd love to see those, but I mean, even if we're going to reach back to the OG Xbox, like, could we get Finest Hour and Big Red 1 brought up?
Right.
There's so many possibilities here that, like, if you find those games, you're probably going to find some of these other, like, original Xbox and like early 360 era games.
Yeah. Can't wait, Josh.
Classic Sierra collection, maybe.
Oh man, classic.
Man, imagine bringing like the original King's Quest games over.
Oh no, that'd be, dude. Yeah, man, to see where like those from started with, man.
But Corey, let me tell you something. We're not done talking about re-releases. We got one more story to get.
One more story. This tickled Josh's fancy, everybody.
This tickled my fancy. So if you believe in internet sleuthing conspiracies, you'll be interested in this one. I'm not sure how much I buy this story, but I think that there's definitely a lot of smoke here, and it's kind of like the Metal Gear Solid 3 rumor, like, where there's smoke, there's fire. It just may take us a few years to see the signal. There is a new rumor from a verified account on Reddit. It was a couple months ago, but sites are just now picking up traction on it, apparently. The person who wrote it was verified by mods on Reddit as a source who actually works at Virtuos Games. Virtuos Games is the studio that's currently responsible for remaking Metal Gear Solid 3 into Metal Gear Solid Delta. So that's the first grain of salt I'm going to say we need to go with, because I don't know if they're going to take 2 massive scale projects on. But the rumor is that the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion is supposedly going to be remade using a combination of the engine from Bethesda, so the Creation Engine, and Unreal 5. I don't know if I necessarily believe that.
That sounds like
it sounds rather ambitious. But this got picked up by a few sites on the internet. Virtuos is supposedly working on 5 different projects. Arguably the biggest of which is Project Alter, which they're describing as a remaster or remake of Oblivion. According to the source, it's still unclear if it's going to be a full remake, but the development team uses a pairing system using both an Unreal Engine 5 project and the old Oblivion one. The user, who claims to work for Virtuos Games in Paris, claims the European studio is in charge of the project, but Black Shamrock is helping the studio with some of the art. The user believes the remaster remake will be out before the end of 2024 or early 2025, and that will depend on if it is a remake or a remaster. This is definitely a big grain of salt thing. Bethesda has never done a remake or a remaster, to my knowledge, of any of their main games. There have been fans that have begged for Fallout 3. Well, a real remake or remaster. Fans have begged for Fallout 3 for years. I find this a little... I find this both believable and not believable, because on one hand, this feels like something the old Bethesda regime absolutely would have greenlit.
Yeah.
also feels like something Microsoft would greenlight to be like, hey, this will kind of help bide the time,
Right.
until Elder Scrolls 6.
Right.
But I also have to wonder, like, this game is still gorgeous today. Like, it's got the upres on backwards compatibility. I don't think that the combat is nearly as antiquated, or the gameplay is nearly as antiquated as people who've only played Skyrim and Fallout 4 seem to think it is.
Yeah.
Part of that's probably because I grew up on this game. If I was going to remake one, I probably would have gone with Morrowind.
Yeah, that seems
For a
like
full scale remake.
Well, they
but
just
also
put all that Morrowind stuff in Elder Scrolls Online, though.
A second wave of it, because their first major expansion was Morrowind.
Yeah.
I have a hard time thinking that you're going to go and remake Oblivion, like, because when we use the words remake and remaster, it's important to be able to distinguish between the two, because like when you say remake, I expect something on the level of Resident Evil 2 now.
Mm-hmm.
That's the gold standard. That's the standard for a remake. I expect that. I expect Resident Evil 4. I expect Dead Space. A remaster is something more akin to what we got with Metroid Prime this year, which still really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of work spent into it, and I recognize Nintendo's going to put a lot more care into it than most other companies are going to.
Yeah, I want to. So, a couple games that maybe people would recognize that outside the Xbox ecosystem that Virtuous worked on would be, and this would fall along the lines of a remaster, Josh, would be the Twilight Princess HD on Wii U. They did, and they also did the Final Fantasy X and Final Fantasy XII HD remasters.
Okay.
So that would be along the lines of what their remasters are.
So I mean, it's fine. Like, it's fine either way. I have a hard time believing that if Microsoft okayed this, that it's not a full-on remake. Because that's the whole thing. Like, did Microsoft approve this, or is this an old like ZeniMax thing that got approved?
Right.
Because if it's a Microsoft thing, I got to imagine it's a full-on remake. If it's a ZeniMax thing, got to imagine it started out as a remaster.
Mm-hmm.
But also at that point, that would have been approved in 2020. So you're going to take 4.5 years on a remaster?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I have a really hard time believing that one.
Yeah, it seems like a long journey for.
I'm gonna stay really like cautiously optimistic on this one. I debated if I was even gonna bring it up, but it got enough traction with various news sites over the weekend that I felt like we needed to bring it up. Elder Scrolls Oblivion, of course, is very near and dear to my heart. One of my favorite games of all time. I mean, that's part of why I'm not like super jazzed about this news.
I mean, Oblivion, I think there are two games that you point at where most people bought 360s at or close to launch, right? That would be Oblivion and that would be Gears of War, right? Those were like the two games everybody pointed at. I was like, this is Xbox 360, man.
Yeah, I mean, those were both year one releases.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I definitely had Oblivion. I definitely have the that collector's edition that came with the book and the map and the coin.
I have that as well. Yeah.
So
I still have that to this day. Yeah, it's and then I saw some people bemoaning that, like, oh, it's going to be exclusive to Xbox. I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't hold my breath on that one.
Yeah.
That was, that was a PS3 game as well.
Mm-hmm.
It was there at the launch of PS3. They notoriously got a better version of it than Xbox fans did too. They got the Knights of the Nine storyline included with theirs. We had to pay for it. That was a $10 DLC, $20 DLC for Xbox fans.
Yeah. Man, $20 DLC. Remember that?
I do. I remember Shivering Isles coming out the next year too. I think that if this does happen, it would likely go to PlayStation as well. I can't imagine it not going, especially if it's an outside studio making it. I can't see why Sony wouldn't be like, oh yeah, let it come on over. Xbox isn't making it internally, so sure. That's the biggest red flag for me, though. Like, I understand that Bethesda's really busy as a studio, but damn, if they're not the ones making this, I don't know if I want somebody else fooling with it.
Yeah.
Like, Obsidian would be the only other studio I would trust with it. Maybe In Exile.
Yeah, but at that point, I mean, I would rather them be doing something else too.
Yeah, and I'm also like one of those, I have a really hard time wanting remakes of games because it's just like this game was so good and it still holds up in a lot of ways to me.
Yeah.
This did remind me about Sky Oblivion.
Oh
That
yeah,
is still a thing that's being made.
yeah,
And I saw people bemoaning like, oh, why wouldn't they just hire the Sky Oblivion team? I don't think you guys understand what it takes to make a full ass AAA game. Sky Oblivion's been in development for like 10 years and it's still not projected to come out till 2025. And that's a mod.
yeah.
That's remaking Oblivion in the Skyrim engine. Like, there is a point where you could hire those people to come work at your studio, but to say like, oh yeah, a team of modders can make this game better than Bethesda is like some really fucking arrogant thinking, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Um, so we saw with that, we've seen it with Fallout 4 Project London, and they have hired people from Project London.
Yeah.
Bethesda's hired people from that, so curious to see if anything comes of this. With how weird this studio is announcing things, I wouldn't expect to hear anything for at least another year, maybe, on this.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe next E3 we hear something just so they can say the words Elder Scrolls on stage.
Mm-hmm.
But that's all I could think of.
Yeah.
So,
well,
we've got some news tidbits. We got some tidbits here.
Tidbits.
Though. We got some DLC.
Yeah,
we got some DLC for you guys.
Yeah. So what we're kind of doing, just a heads up, we're gonna do headline stories, which are the big stories that we need to talk about, right? Like the huge stories. But then we're the smaller stories we're calling DLC. Josh came up with that. I didn't know what to call them, so Josh came up with DLC. So cool. Tencent will soon be the majority shareholder of Dying Light developer Techland. Tencent, man, the Tencent invasion is still happening.
Yeah, I saw people being like, "Oh, this is because Microsoft bought Activision Blizzard and it got approved." Guys, these deals are negotiated over the course of months, if not years.
Yeah.
Techland, we knew, was up for some sort of investment or purchase years ago, because there was the speculation back in 2021 that Microsoft was going to move to acquire them. Microsoft supposedly was all lined up to get a Polish company and then pulled out. And to this day, it is not known if it was them or if they were going to try to acquire CD Projekt Red. Maybe they pulled out after how bad Cyberpunk was at launch or whatever. But they pulled out of buying some sort of company in Poland and Eastern Europe. And it's long been thought that it was Techland.
I'm assuming it's Techland because if you do CD Projekt, you got to think about GOG. You got to think about like everything that they have.
Well, and that was my thing. But that was also when CD Projekt Red had lost like 50% of its value.
Right.
So it would have been a much cheaper purchase.
Right.
The thought has always been in the online weird rumor circles, Reset Era and Reddit.
Yes,
that
the places I go for all my true.
Yes, rumors. The place that I definitely 100% trust. I actually really love going there to see Jason Schreier tell everybody they're fucking idiots. Tencent buying Techland. I mean, that's a smart investment on Techland's part, or on Tencent's part, not on Techland's.
Yeah.
Techland was long thought to be on there, or that there was this whole thing about like, oh, Dying Light 2 is going to come straight to Game Pass, and that like tanked the value of that game so bad.
Yeah.
Because they got rumored for so long, and even like their CEO coming out was like, no, that's not a thing, and they had a lot of turnover there. I forget. Oh my God, who was it? They had a lot of problems getting Dying Light 2 made, though. That thing showed up at like 4 straight summer showcases.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that thing, wasn't it like, didn't they reboot it at some point too?
I think it got rebooted.
And that's why they kept putting out DLC for the first one, because they needed more time to work on the second one.
So if you want an idea of how wildly the scores swung on this one, GameSpot gave it a 6 out of 10. Andrew Reiner gave it a 9.5 at Game Informer.
Yeah.
That's how wild the reviews swung on this one. This was also the one that Chris Avallone was helping write on.
Right, and they had to rewrite a lot of it because whatever was going on.
They sexual misconduct allegations were made against Avallone in June 2020. Techland and Avallone agreed to terminate his involvement with Dying Light 2. Which, from what I understand, they had to go and basically reboot the game.
Yeah.
Because this was originally announced at E3 2018 during the Xbox press conference by Chris Avellone.
Right.
And then starting in January 2020, they just started all the delays. It took 2 years for it to come out.
Mm-hmm.
2 years.
Yeah.
But they have promised that they are going to keep supporting this game for 5 years after launch.
Yeah. Well, they supported that first one for like almost 8.
Yeah, I was not as thrilled with Dying Light as a lot of people were. I know a lot of people who love the first Dying Light.
Yeah.
And I just did not get into it ever.
Yeah, I didn't either.
But hey, you know, this is what's going to happen. You know, companies are going to invest or straight up buy these, you know, AAA studios that are on the lower side of AAA. You know, I think when we think AAA, we think of things like, oh, Capcom, Activision, Blizzard, EA. We forget that like AAA studios like Techland have like 150 employees at least.
Yeah.
So that's like not an insignificant amount of money. Oh, excuse me. As of April 2021, they had 400 plus employees. Sorry, that number was way off.
I mean, your point was they have a lot of employees.
They have a lot of employees, and to make one game.
Yeah.
Oh man, just how weird.
Strange.
Not a fan. So yeah, there you go. Tencent bought them.
Yep, Tencent bought them.
Majority shareholder.
Yeah.
But they're supposedly going to be able to retain creative autonomy, and I don't know if that's a good thing or not.
Yeah.
All
right. Well, we're going to move on to the next kind of little story. Xbox came out and says they're planning on improving PC Game Pass, focusing on handheld PCs like the ROG Ally. That's not a big surprise to me, considering how successful the Steam Deck and the ROG Ally seem to be, right?
Yeah, we kind of touched on this at the beginning too when we were talking handhelds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, hey, PC Game Pass, it's already got some games that are different from console because they get things like Crusader Kings and Age of Empires and whatnot, even though Crusader Kings has come to console.
So is Age of Empires.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I'm saying, like, they get those on, like, release day, and they don't have to wait, like, 3 years for the Xbox port.
Right, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Cool. I mean, like, this would be cool. Man, I still want something to play Xbox handheld games. Like, don't get me wrong, I liked my Backbone, but when these things came out, I'm like, man, this thing's worthless now.
I still like my Backbone. The internet connections aren't there.
Yeah.
That's the biggest problem. The internet connections just aren't there.
Right. And I mean, at the FTC hearing, I mean, Xbox kind of said as much, you know. So, yeah. You got anything else to say about that, Josh?
No.
Okay. Ubisoft has canceled an Immortal Phoenix Rising sequel. I kind of liked that first game.
I never played it, so I'm gonna defer to you on this one.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of like a mix between like the newer Assassin's Creed games and Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I mean, it was the Odyssey team that worked on it, so it was kind of like a cartoony. Imagine if like the Borderlands kind of characters / announcers / whatever were Greek gods, and they were narrating your entire story. That's kind of how it was, and like I could have maybe done without that, but the gameplay was fun. They took a lot of parts from Breath of the Wild that were like maybe they didn't understand why Breath of the Wild was special, but they still did it anyway. But the combat was very Assassin's Creed. The exploration was very Assassin's Creed. It was basically just a cartoony Assassin's Creed. So I mean,
I was interested because it's from the team at Ubisoft that made Odyssey.
Yeah.
That's why I was interested. I was much more interested in this when it was called Gods and Monsters.
Yeah. But
that's when they rebranded it very hastily. Well, I was like, and it got so many delays, I just never got to it.
Yeah, well, I mean, Monster Energy Drink sued them.
I remember that.
And then there was a movie coming out around the same time or recently called Gods and Monsters that nobody saw or cared about that also had the entertainment thing to it, so they had to rebrand.
Yeah. Yes. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, Gods and Monsters was definitely a better name, but yeah, I liked it. I mean, it wasn't amazing, but It was fun.
Yeah, I'm really baffled as to why they canceled this sequel, which was never formally announced, but they're keeping the dead weight of Beyond Good and Evil 2 and Skull and Bones.
Yeah. Well, Skull and Bones is like a Shanghai government ordinance thing.
It's Singapore.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
I don't like that. That really annoys me actually, because this is a game that just desperately needs to get canceled. I've heard that I think it was Tom Henderson was reporting it earlier this week, said that he had heard from like dozens of people who are signed up to play test the game that just like almost everybody ignored the latest play test. They just like nobody cares anymore.
Yeah.
And that game's been delayed for how many years now? It was revealed before Sea of Thieves, and it still isn't out yet.
Right.
And it looked really bad when we saw it last. Yeah. To me at least.
It looks like, man, I mean, as much as I wanted to like, I think the idea of Skull and Bones sounds cool, but the game just does not look good. It's it kind of reminds me of The Division a little bit, and like it straight up took the font from PUBG on their menus, which is hilarious. And what was the other thing? Oh, like the spray paint stuff from like X Defiant as their logo. I'm like, come on, guys, you're trying to make a serious pirate game, and this is your like layout here. So I don't know, man. I liked the idea and the concept. They're like, hey, we're gonna make a pirate game, and then they said this, and I don't know, man. And now they're like, that same studio is supposedly remaking Assassin's Creed Black Flag, and now I'm like, I don't want that now.
I'm so over. I'm so over how Ubisoft does business right now.
I know, man.
It's so bad. The Sands of Time remake that just got mysteriously disappeared off the calendar.
I know. But dude, that new Prince of Persia game looks amazing though.
And that's my problem. Like, I'll sit here and I'll criticize them all day long. They've got like 8 Assassin's Creed games in development, but I'm really excited for that new Prince of Persia.
I know. Prince of Persia looks awesome.
Yeah. I'm less jazzed about Mirage after hearing that Mirage is expected to take 25 plus hours to finish the storyline.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, gross.
Yeah. Well,
gross. But it's like, when your marketing has to be that it's 3 times shorter than Valhalla, what the fuck does that even mean? Just tell me how long the game is supposed to be.
Yeah.
25 hours for Assassin's Creed feels about right, but it's just so many years of Ubisoft games are telling me that like that's not real, and it's actually going to be longer. I hate it. I hate it so much.
I know.
Hit me with this last story, though, Corey.
Yeah, the last story, Josh. Probably something that people would really like to hear. We don't have any details on this or anything. It's definitely just from job listings and some minor details from
LinkedIn.
Yeah, from LinkedIn. Arcane Austin is seemingly returning to single player games after the wonderful game we got earlier this year in Redfall. Josh, I mean, this sounds like a no-brainer for a lot of people, especially now that Microsoft seems to be more involved. What do you think? What do you think it is? Do you think it's like another Prey? Do you think it's some sort of immersive sim?
I think it's going to be an immersive sim. I don't know if it's going to be Prey or not.
Yeah. Especially because most of that team left, right?
Yeah, well, most of that team left. From what I understand, they wanted to work on a sequel to Prey, and they were told, no, you're doing a multiplayer game instead. And that's where Redfall came from.
Yeah.
At this point, I don't think that I want another Prey because it's not the team.
Right.
It's not the team, so why do I care? My thinking is this could probably be another game in the Dishonored series.
Yeah.
They did do Death of the Outsider, and again, most of that team is gone. But if you're going to take the time to rebuild Arcane Austin with a new team, then as much as I'd like for it to be another Dishonored game or a Prey game, I really think it should just be a new IP.
Yeah.
Let it be them. Let them put their stamp on it. Make it whatever they want to make it. But it feels like it's got to be an immersive sim.
Yeah. I feel like it has to be. I feel like that's what Arcane in general is known for, and I feel like that's that's the direction that studio wanted to go in the first place. And yeah, that team's gone.
I mean, they got a chance to make one game, and then they were told, no, you're gonna completely throw all that away.
Yeah.
And like we know from the Bloomberg story that came out, right around the time of Redfall's release, where Jason Schreier was reporting on it, and it's like, yeah, most of the people who came to work there game because they wanted to work on immersive sims, and then they found out only after they got hired, oh yeah, you're not actually working on one of those, you're working on a multiplayer game.
Yeah.
And like nobody there knew how to make multiplayer games. That was an edict from the old Arcane. It's pretty bad when they're hoping, oh shit, we're getting bought out, maybe they'll cancel our game.
Mm-hmm.
And then Microsoft didn't, because, and that's like a true damned if you do, damned if you don't moment, right? Like if you do and people find out, oh, there's a multiplayer Arcane game in development, you cancel it.
Mm-hmm.
What? Or it's seen as like, oh, Microsoft's coming in and they're just, it's the red wedding over here in terms of what they're doing to Bethesda games and this and that. But then you put out something like that that's just terrible, and reviews, you know, double digit points lower than you thought it was going to on Metacritic.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what do you even do at that point?
Right.
So we've talked about it before. I really hope that the lesson that has been learned out of this is, if they're already posting listings for this and they're already hiring for this, great. They've already learned and they know they need to pivot back.
Yeah. And this also tells me that Redfall's basically done, right? I mean, they might do like a patch. There wasn't any DLC for this.
Very curious to see what they do with Redfall.
Yeah. I mean, was there any DLC promised for this game?
No.
I didn't think so.
No, and if there were plans for it, it's 100% scrapped.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it would have been scrapped before launch, I think. I think the only way they would have released it is if this game would have got like a 7 or higher.
Yeah.
Like average, and they could have been like, oh, we can Sea of Thieves this. We can save this.
Yeah.
And I mean, hey, like, listen, no amount of patches is going to fix this game. It would take like 3 times the content. And at that point, just cut your losses and move on.
Yeah. I think
it's a shame, but
yeah. I mean, Redfall was such a cool idea. But
I think it was a cool idea for like 2013. Like,
well, I'm not talking about the game itself. I'm talking about like the concept of like using cool powers to fight vampires. I think is a cool idea.
Yeah, I guess. My problem was when they first revealed this game and it was a 6-minute CG trailer, my first reaction was, oh no. We had just had a really good E3 show, and then we got a 6-minute CG trailer to end the thing.
Yeah.
And it was not a 6-minute CG trailer for Starfield, so I went, oh no.
Yeah.
We didn't see it again for another year.
Right.
And when we did see it, it had been delayed clean out of 2022.
Yeah.
When it was supposed to be released that summer.
Yeah.
And it got delayed right before E3. So last summer, we're sitting there watching it. We finally see gameplay. And that was the moment where I was like, hey, okay, this might actually be a little fun. And, I saw the developer direct. And I was like, okay, I'm on board to play this on Game Pass. I made it about 2 hours before I took it off my hard drive.
Yeah.
I was playing with a friend. I did not enjoy it. I didn't have to try. I think the powers are still really cool. I think there's definitely... There's bones of a good game there. But this game needed like 2 more years in the oven.
Yeah.
And like no amount of content was going to save this.
Mm-hmm. The
story's incomprehensible. I can't tell you what's happening.
Right.
And it's the exact opposite of everything I've come to expect from a ZeniMax title.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not just Arcane. Like, Arcane does tell amazing stories through its worlds. But that's something that's universal across all their properties, whether it's Bethesda, it's ZeniMax Online, it's Machine Games, it's, id. That's what I come to expect. I come to play ZeniMax games because I expect a world that is rich in story, whether it's being shoved in my face or it's stuff I'm finding in like lore documents or side quests or even just like NPCs that you can hear talking.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's part of what made Dishonored such an incredible experience.
Right.
Dishonored and Dishonored 2. And I got none of that from this.
Yeah.
And this is the same studio that made Death of the Outsider. So, which was supposed to be a DLC. And they were like, oh, we have so many ambitions for this. We're going to make it a full-on release.
Yeah.
And then Prey, Prey quietly became one of the most underrated games of the generation. So, like, even when you and I did our reaction to them buying ZeniMax, that was the studio I was most excited for. I was like, oh, man, like, you're going to have a studio like Arcane. Arcane is the secret prize here.
Yeah.
And like, I think Deathloop lived up to it.
Yeah.
This did not. Nope. So it's like, if you can keep like some of that Arcane DNA is still there, thankfully.
Yeah.
But you're gonna really have to rebuild. I would not expect anything out of Arcane Austin until like launch of the next consoles.
Yeah. Also, like, I mean, not if you want some of that, like, immersive sim stuff, like you could. I mean, Leon could totally have some sort of producer kind of come over and oversee something, right? I mean, not literally come over, but jump on a Zoom call or whatever, and hey, how's this going, and like that kind of thing, I guess.
I'm sure they will. I'm sure that some bigwigs from Leon will come over as they hire more people.
Yeah.
And I think also the important thing is going to be like hiring from other studios, promoting from other studios. I could see them maybe going for some of the people that worked on like the Dead Space remake, for example. Or even coming over from some of Microsoft's other studios. I mean, Ninja Theory, I'm sure, has a plethora of things they could teach Arcane Austin.
Yeah.
So I'm cautiously optimistic to see what happens here. If Microsoft acquires Certain Affinity, you got Certain Affinity right down the road.
Yeah.
Literally right down the road. So we'll see what happens. But hey, I'm not giving up on Arcane Austin just yet.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not
yet.
I just...
One bad game doesn't define you, but it can destroy your studio.
That's
unfortunately
100% true.
With how long it takes to make these AAA experiences.
Yep. Well, Josh, that's it. That's all we got.
That's it. That's all we got.
Anything else you want to hit on before we skedaddle? Scoot on out of here?
No, I don't think so. I don't have anything else.
Cool. I actually just installed Jedi Survivor. I'm going to give that a whirl again before Final Fantasy XIV. So
such a good game.
Yeah, I'm excited to try that out.
I'm bummed that there's so much coming out this year that it's not going to make my top 5. But unless things go catastrophically wrong, it's not going to make my top 5. But it is my second favorite Star Wars game ever. Oh God, those are 2 other games: Jedi Outcast and Jedi Academy. Were both made by Raven Software.
It's true. Yeah, but that Raven team is gone, right? I mean, that whole...
I know, but we were talking about licensing.
Yeah. Oh man, dude,
and X-Men Origins are backwards compatible already.
X-Men Origins Wolverine, man, that game was awesome.
Oh, the rated M one?
Yeah, that game was awesome. Way better than the movie.
We don't talk about the movie, Corey.
That's true.
I might fire up Divinity Original Sin 2 tonight.
Nice.
I'm really feeling the Baldur's Gate hype right now, and I won't be able to get to it until at least mid-September. Because Starfield is, of course, going to come first. I want to know who at Bungie thought it was a good idea to release the new Destiny raid on Labor Day weekend and on the same day as Starfield Early Access. I want names.
Oh, man.
I want names. You had a perfectly good weekend the weekend before. And I guess it was like, do we want to go up against Armored Core 6? Or do we want to take our chances against Starfield and Baldur's Gate on PS5? They made the wrong decision either way.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could say, like, at least your PlayStation audience will not be playing Starfield and will probably be playing Destiny, but if you're looking for another...
They'll be on Baldur's Gate! Baldur's Gate is a console exclusive right now!
I know, but that, I mean, to be fair, though, like a CRPG and Destiny, not necessarily the same audience, although we have seen a lot of Destiny people jump to, like, Diablo and stuff. So
I don't know about that right now. I think everybody's just desperate for a high-quality game.
I know.
You're going to have that and Armored Core. Like, listen, man, I love Destiny. We play so much Destiny, but...
We have a whole fucking podcast dedicated to Destiny.
Whole fucking podcast dedicated to Destiny. And that's why I'm trying not to dwell on it right now, but this has just been like eating away at me all weekend more and more.
Yeah.
Like I've seen so many people, like, I don't know if we really appreciate right now how good this year has been so far.
Dude, this is the first Destiny season pass I haven't completed. I mean, I still have like 3 weeks to do it.
But I hit level 100 last weekend with our buddy, last week with our buddy Joasis.
Yeah.
Me and him were farming Spoils of Conquest and Root of Nightmares, and we're planning to do it again tomorrow night. But yeah, me, him, and Johnny were playing it. And we were talking, and we're like, man, you look at what's come out this year so far, and like not just on Xbox, but like across all the platforms. You know, you got Hi-Fi Rush, you got Resident Evil 4 Remake, you had oh my god, Dead Space Remake, you had Fire Emblem Echoes, you have Metro Prime Remastered, you have Tears of the Kingdom, Diablo 4, Remnant 2, Final Fantasy 16.
Oh man, dude, Remnant 2 gives me like... Dude, Remnant 2, like every time I see videos of it, it's like, man, this is like probably the versions of Outriders people wanted.
Yeah. Yeah, I two of the guys in our Destiny Discord are pinging me, telling me to come buy Remnant 1 with them for like $10.
Yeah, it's the all the content for Remnant 1 is $17.99 on Xbox. So I'm playing on it right
That's
now.
what they want me to come buy.
Yeah.
But you look at what's still coming, and I mean August alone.
Yeah.
By the time we meet next, we're going to be 2 weeks out from Starfield, Corey.
I know, and hopefully, people of the Xbox podcast that listen, we'll have a little surprise with you a few weeks after that.
Hopefully,
yeah.
I mean, you're gonna have Armored Core 6, you're gonna have Starfield, you're gonna have Baldur's Gate 3, you have Spider-Man 2 coming, you've got Alan Wake 2, we got Forza Motorsport, Super Mario Brothers Wonder, Super Mario RPG, like Assassin's Creed Mirage. There are so many games coming out in the next couple of months. Avatar, Frontiers of Pandora. We haven't even seen Modern Warfare 3 yet. That's gonna sell a bajillion copies.
You mean Avatar Cry?
Avatar Cry. I'm like low key. I'm actually kind of excited to play it.
I know you are.
There's so much stuff coming out though in the next couple of months. Like that's not including indies. Like we're both really hyped. Sea of Stars comes out that same week.
I know, man. Sea of Stars, man, looks so good.
Which also comes to the PlayStation Plus day one.
I know.
What a great thing for that studio. That studio's the game is instantly profitable just off those 2 deals. How good, how great for them.
I know.
And it's gonna sell bonkers copies on the Switch.
I know.
I just like I look at all of these games and I'm like, I know that I'm not gonna be able to play everything that I want to play this year. And that's an amazing problem to have. Like we are by the end of this year, I think it's already time to start having a discussion. But after we have the triple hit of Baldur's Gate 3, Armored Core, and Starfield, it's going to time to seriously start having a discussion. And maybe we'll have this towards the end of the year. Is this the best year ever for gaming?
Yeah.
Like, in terms of just hit after hit after hit after hit after hit. And I know that people are like, oh, well, what about the new IPs? And like, yeah, admittedly, there haven't been a ton of them. But like, Remnant 2 has gotten the attention that Remnant 1 never got.
I know. Like
Pikmin 4, I'd never dream. I know Miyamoto talked about it for years. I'd never thought I'd see a Pikmin 4.
No. They said that Pikmin 4 was in development for the Wii U, and then like we all thought that weird 3DS game was like the 4th Pikmin game that they were talking about. And we were like, well,
and then they even made a mobile one.
I know, God, that was so bad. It's still going too.
It's still going. Like I know we're going to get out of here, but just like that's kind of a thought that I've been having more. I'm seeing more and more people start having this discussion. Like, and it's like, is this not just one of the best years like for gaming in recent memory? Like, this is probably going to end up as like a top 3 or 4 year ever?
Yeah.
Like, what's the more recent one that we've had? Like 2008, 2007.
2007 was a great year.
2007, 7 and 8 were both really good years if you look at those.
Yeah.
Like this is the first real year that we're seeing these developers like make full-on exclusives for the current gen. And yeah, there's been some technical issues here, but when the games work, like they're dazzling. Like Jedi Survivor and Final Fantasy 16 both have my jaw.
Oh my gosh, dude! Final Fantasy 16 is the most next gen game I've ever seen.
It's probably the most beautiful game I've ever played.
So I played the demo. I'm like, oh my god, this game is incredible.
And I can't wait to see how Starfield and Forza perform. For Xbox fans like this, we are finally going to get to eat. We're finally going to get a good meal.
Finally,
we've had some good appetizers so far this year with Hi-Fi Rush and Minecraft Legends.
Remember when
about the
remember when we were doing the old version of the show and like the Xbox Series X was about to come out. And we were like, man, yeah, dude, when Halo comes out, that's gonna be the kickoff of like next gen. And yeah, we're gonna play Destiny at 60 frames a second, but man, that's good.
And then everything got delayed.
I know, everything got delayed. Everything was cross gen. Like, I'm like, oh my god.
Well, it's funny because like Xbox was like kind of done with the cross gen stuff for their major titles years ago.
I know.
And like Halo Infinite's the last one, but that's the last real AAA game that we got.
I know.
That's wild. That game's been basically relaunched in the time since we got another one.
I know.
But at the time of this recording, Corey, we are 1 month away from Starfield. We are 31 days away from Starfield.
I know, man. It's a good thing. It's a good thing.
I'm ready. I'm ready. I've seen people complaining about the early access thing and like, oh, it's just it's a gateway to keep those of us who are poor from playing it early. Like, I don't fucking care. I'm still paying for it. I will pay the $20 or $30 to play this game for a holiday weekend.
Right. Yeah, 3
I did the same thing for Diablo, and I have zero regrets.
Yeah.
Because I'm getting to experience everything in real time with my friends.
Yeah. I mean, that's how
they get we're feasting. I am kind of regretting not getting that collector's edition
of Starfield, the consolation one. Yeah.
Our friend Ray Apollo got it, and then later went and bought the controller, and I think he bought the headset too.
Yeah.
And I didn't need any more paraphernalia. I kind of wanted the box more than anything.
Yeah.
But I don't have room. Watch? I'm in an apartment. I didn't need to. If the watch actually was a smartwatch, I would have bought it.
Yeah.
But alas, I do not need any more paraphernalia. I'm sure there's going to be statues galore from this game.
Oh, I'm sure.
We might get some Starfield news here pretty quickly, though. QuakeCon is happening next week.
Yep. Oh man, QuakeCon's
long rumored that Quake 2 is going to get announced for a re-release, much like Quake 1 did a couple years ago.
Yeah.
QuakeCon is happening August 10th through the 13th, so right before we come back for our next episode.
You think
it'll be happening?
You think they'll announce id's next game there?
If it's a remake of Quake, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's been the rumor.
Yeah.
Is that they are doing for Quake what they did for Doom. I absolutely could see them announcing that.
Yeah.
This is the first in-person QuakeCon since before the pandemic.
Right.
So I think they want to announce something. Quake 2 has already been rated by other ratings boards.
Mm-hmm.
So it could happen. It's been 3.5 years since Doom Eternal came out.
Yeah.
We forget that came out the same week as Animal Crossing when we all went into lockdown.
I know.
Oh man. That was the original Barbenheimer.
Yeah. Yeah, oh man.
But one last thing before we get out of here. I know we've been trying to get out of here for like 15 minutes. I've completely forgot about this. I read this right before we went live. Tom Henderson over at Inside Gaming was talking about Microsoft's presence at Gamescom and said that Forza is going to be playable, Towerborn is going to be playable,
yeah,
and Stalker 2.
Ooh,
Stalker 2 is not, in fact, ghosting us. It very well could come out early next year. Of course, we all know the situation surrounding, their studio and GSS.
Rough situation over there.
They did move development to the Czech Republic.
Yeah.
They did move it to Prague. But one of the developers of Stalker 2 did lose their life fighting in the war in Ukraine. Just a very, very rough, intense situation all around. Obviously, like defending your homeland is obviously much more important than fucking pixels on a screen. But I mean, that comes out. That's of course a Game Pass release. That's something I personally have been looking forward to for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
They announced it at the showcase in 2020, and I was like, holy shit, that was like my biggest announcement of the show. Like, oh my god, everybody else is talking about Fable. I'm like, oh god, Stalker exists.
Yeah.
Stalker 2 is going to happen. It's not just a grift anymore. That was a grift for years. Like, it's not just a grift. It's going to come to console. Oh my god. Like, I can't believe this. It's one of like 3 third-party games they announced. This and Tetris Effect. Like, this is all I need. This is all I needed to hear. And then that gives me hope that Towerborn is going to be an early 2024 game as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's, of course, the game from Stoic Studios, the Banner Saga team. And they're going to have an insider beta later this year for Xbox Insiders and Game Pass subs, I believe. Because I signed up for that one right after E3. I keep calling it E3. I'm going to keep calling X Twitter. Like, it is what it is. They announced it right after E3.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. So, no mention of Starfield being playable, though. And I have to imagine that's because it's like 3 days before the game comes out, and they're like, nope, forget you guys.
Right.
Play it on Game Pass.
Right. All right, Josh, we're getting out of here this time.
Let's get out of here.
I want to thank everybody for watching and or listening to this episode of Xbox Arsenal. Please subscribe to YouTube, subscribe to the podcast. You can check us out on Tower Casuals. Josh, thank you for your time as always. Where can we find you?
As always. You guys can find me on Twitter, Josh_Finn, 2 N's. I'm still there. I'm still holding down the fort, fighting a good fight. You guys can find me on Threads, the same name, and in Discord. I'm Finn. So
yes. You can find me at I am Corey in HD on all the social media platforms that you can find me. Yeah, that's it. We're going to get out of here. Thank you so much for watching and or listening. Until next time, we love you. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now. If you want to be a Patreon producer, head on over to Patreon, patreon.com/bossrushmedia, and find out which tier is right for you. Our Patreon producers at the $5 tier or higher for this month are Adriel Munger, Austin Campbell, Celeste Roberts, Christian S., Sana Dirrig, Francisco Santillan, and Rebecca Jewell. Thank you for your continued support.